Welcome to episode 2 of the Third Down Poll podcast. This week I've pulled on Chris and we're going to discuss pricing of cards and valuing. Who better than Chris? You are the best at pricing and valuing, are you not?
I mean, I'm the one that does it.
You
So
must
we'll
be
call it the best, yeah.
Call it the best, yeah. So yeah, like each week we're going to talk about different things, like we'll run through the news as we've done and everything else. But I thought the best, episode 2, we got introduced to you and Ben, but let's start with some, I'll tell you my knowledge, some that I've learned, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously. You're going to teach us some stuff and teach some new people some stuff about pricing your cards and valuing them.
I'm gutted I don't have a little buzzer. Like every time you get something wrong.
It'll be always
Next
on.
time.
Be always on. Let's just kick it off straight away. I've just opened a pack. Yeah, we do a scenario here. We'll do a little scenario. I've just opened a pack.
Role play?
Yeah, a bit of role play. Yeah.
Role play?
Just open the card. I've just pulled a decent card. What's the first thing you want to do? You want to go find out how much that's worth. Most people do anyway. Want to go and find how much it's worth. When I first got into cards, like I said, as a casual, didn't really know anything. I just typed in Google. I went, like, value a card, value a trading card. And the first one that came up was Sports Card Pro. And I just started doing it on there. And it seems pretty good. Like you'd did a picture where you could scan the picture of the card, had all the variants, and it like took you to eBay and stuff to sell. There's so many more different ways to do that. And is there better ways to do that than that I've been doing for the last 8 years?
Yeah. So I think going back a few years, there wasn't loads of options, whereas now every man and the dog's got an app out. You've sort of got the industry leader in Card Ladder that obviously massive in the States, is slowly coming over to the UK. There's one that's been around longer. You've got 130 Point, where it's basically a web page. They've got a little app that you can download that you can either take a picture or you can type in the name of the card and it'll bring you up sold listings, what it's actually sold for on best offer. Whereas when you do that on eBay, it'll just show you like 300 quid with a line through it.
Yeah.
And say best offer, it shows you what it's actually sold for. And yeah, there's many options to go down in the Pokemon world. You've obviously got TCG Player, and there is an app called Collector, which you just scan the card and it'll tell you the value at the bottom. You just got to double check that it's pulled through the right card image, the same as you do with anything where you take a photo on it. But yeah, it gives you sort of card valuations, that sort of stuff.
Would you say Card Ladder is the best one for like UK users and stuff at the moment? Like obviously you've got eBay. We were talking about this in the shop the other day. Like with eBay, I think it goes back 90 days. Like unless you've got like a business account which goes back like 3 years. But is Card Ladder, like I've never used Card Ladder before. So would you say, if like speaking to someone like who was kind of relatively new to valuing cards, would you say Card Ladder is the best one for pricing like UK? Are you going to still get the US dollar things? Or
you still get the dollar thing. I'm still working the dollar on it. I think it comes down to how much you do it, to sort of whether you'd invest in sort of paying monthly for that Card Ladder subscription to get all the benefits of it, or whether you are better off using something like 130 Point or just the eBay sold listings. If you are sort of really casual, not really looking to sort of buy and sell, more of a check-in sort of evaluation of your card, more than sort of doing it as sort of a business.
is it quite expensive? Is it like for Card Ladder?
No, it's either monthly or an annual subscription, but it's not. Okay. If you use it all the time, it's worth it. It's the same as like the Collector app. You get so many free scans,
right?
But then you can obviously sign up for a business account, which is unlimited scans. So for us in the shop, it's worth having because we're comping and pricing most days. Whereas if you're doing it on your own and you weren't doing it sort of that avidly, it's maybe not necessarily a wise way to spend sort of 10, 15 quid a month.
Yeah. There's like, obviously we mentioned eBay. There's some like good news coming out of the USA. I don't know if you know this, Chris. I'm going to tell you about it if you don't know.
But, fill me in.
But obviously the USA at the moment, they've like set out like so like I say, it's only in the US at the moment. They've set out like a trial where it's like a section on eBay where you can actually price cards and go back. We actually wrote an article about it on.
An article?
Yeah, we wrote an article about it on the Third Down. If anyone wants to go check it out. Yeah, so you can actually like comp your cards on there. It goes back quite a few years and stuff. You can actually save your cards in like an area. If you don't want to sell them straight away, you can like sell later.
Like your own little portfolio.
Yeah. And hopefully that's going to come, like be branched out to the UK and Europe once they've like ironed out any creases, would you say, and stuff and everything for things. But so that it just shows you how like much it's growing,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hobby and
definitely.
stuff, like for eBay to do something like that. Because obviously, when you look at eBay, they probably like you probably think, oh, we're just happy doing it like that, but they see there's a market there to do something like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they do a lot of watching and seeing how other people do it and see, is the market there? Is it actually needed? Is it wanted? And then they've obviously, similar as they've done with sort of the live streaming platform, they've identified this as a gap where they can come in and do something slightly different and hopefully bring the eBay touch to it, which means it'll probably be better in the long run. Short-term pain, long-term gain, all that jazz.
Yeah, hopefully, like we get to see it over here, because that would be cool. I think it'd be a good way for like people that are new into the hobby and stuff. It'd be like, it seems like, look, like you say, if you read the article, you'll see a lot more information on it on there. But there's a lot. It looks really user friendly stuff, which would be, like I say, obviously it's good for everyone, but really good for like new people. Because I'm guessing like you can go. I think I can't remember the sites that I've used in the past, but I think ones that I used and tried, sometimes they can be a bit overbearing for someone that's new. You know, like when it's like going through, like say you like take a picture of a card and it's got like loads of different variants, and some of them don't come up with a price and stuff, and or the picture of them.
Yeah.
That's where it can be like a lot.
Yeah, I think especially sort of American sports where there's so many parallels, so many different numbered variants. It can be a bit overwhelming, especially when you're new to it and you don't necessarily know, especially when you come from sort of in the UK, a lot of it is sort of football and Pokemon, and then it's sort of like your stickers or your match attacks where it's pretty basic, pretty easy to understand. Then into a world where one card has 30 different variants and different numbered options and all that sort of stuff, it can be quite hard to grasp.
So speaking of like variants, there's been a number of times where I've gone to like look at a card, and there's like zero recent sales, like on eBay and things like that. You know, on eBay and the Cards Pro that I used before. Just say there is zero sales, because not many people are saying it. How do you go about comping cards? You like, we'll use Haaland for example. Erling Haaland's a good example. Say like I've got Erling Haaland card there's zero recent sales. I've got nothing to comp it on. Would you look for something similar? Would you look for a similar player of level, or would you look for a similar Haaland in a different like type of card? Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of the time when it comes to this sort of stuff, it's often when a new set comes out. And if you're the first one to get a to 50 or a to 25 or a to 10, like it can be quite hard to sort of gauge that price. And we'll go with the football scenario you've just given. So if you pulled Haaland to 10 auto, you'd look at similar sets of a to 10 auto sale that has gone through, a set that's got a similar price point, and then you can sort of go off there as a sort of sales value. So say a new set's come out, the box costs 200 quid. A box came out 2 months ago that cost 200 quid. There was a Haaland to 10 sale out of that box. You know, that's probably the ballpark of where it'll settle if that sale's relatively recent. But because it's a brand new product, there is a bit of a premium on releases of being the first to market. You do get a bit of a premium. So you know that's sort of like your starting point. But that's sort of a good point that if you're doing a deal at that point, you can work from. So yeah, it's a good place to start.
You know, like this is one thing that I've like picked up a little bit over the last like month or so, like just the certain types of like obviously we'll use Panini that obviously do football, so everything. You've got Prism and things like that. You know, like I didn't know at the time that Prism was so much more valuable than others. Like, obviously, like you might tell me I'm wrong now. There might be some other sets thingy, but Prism, when I've seen it, seems to go for a bit more. Is if you've got a Prism that's like, let's just say Prism's just come out, and you've got Erling Haaland out of 10, or like you said, are you going to have to add a little bit on there because it's Prism compared to like a Don Russ, should I say? Or
yeah, so with it, you sort of look at last year's, because obviously now Haaland's been at City a few years. His rookie stuff was initially Leipzig. He had some Dortmund that they stuck the sticker on. But you sort of go off basically sort of last year's pricing as a sort of indicator. Yeah, box pricing's gone up and all that sort of stuff. So a little bit more of a premium. But you can sort of go off the year before's product when it's not sort of a rookie.
Okay, so there's a lot to take in there. So, like I say, it's just so much that like they've got to take into account with things, especially when it's you've got zero recent sales. But it's very, I'd say it's not. Would you say it's rare that there's zero recent sales? Like, is it just newer products, or is it like obviously we'll get onto one of ones like which is like a unique thing. But like once things start selling, I'm guessing like there's more or less a background in sales where you can like look up.
Yeah, so a lot of the time there's something to go off. So it's obviously a lot harder when it comes to 101s to 5s to 10s to 25s. You don't often there's quite a few occasions where they're not on the market already. So you have to use whatever technique you choose, whether that's the same set from the year before, a different set, or a similar sort of parallel to it, or whether you go with a similar level player.
Like obviously you mentioned rookies as well, so like that's another level to it. Also, when a rookie comes out, it's his first cards in anything. So try to think of last year, you got Ethan Noani, hadn't you? Last year, maybe Miles Lewis-Skelly for Arsenal. How do you go about comping a rookie? Because I'm guessing it'll change. Well, it will change when you've got a rookie where everyone's like big on him. Like we're going back years here. We'll go recently with Lamine Yamal. When he got his rookie card, you knew he was going to be special. And there's some that could be special, but it's not. I wouldn't say guarantee. Guarantee is the wrong word, but they're a bit lower down than Lamine Yamal.
Yeah.
How do you go? Is there ways like tactics to price stuff like that, or is it just like what you think? Or
yeah, so with sort of highlighted players like Yamal. So basically, if you look back a few years, you had Ansu Fati. Everything was screamed about him at Barcelona as going to be the next big thing. His pricing was ridiculously through the roof, and then everything happened with the injuries. He ended up in the Prem at Bournemouth. Was it Bournemouth?
Brighton.
Yeah, and then he's somewhere in France or something like that now. Yeah. That it's not obviously worked out for him. So like his card value is obviously plummeted. But then you look at someone like Yamal and his price is going to the moon. So with rookies, it's a lot of the time performance based. So you see a lot more fluctuation in sort of rookie pricing based on performance rather than Haaland can play bad for 4 weeks. Messi, going back a couple of years, could play bad for a month. Not that he did, but could play bad for a month, and the impact would be a lot less than if one of these lesser named, a Nawari or a Lewis Skelly gets injured or doesn't play well for a couple of games. Their pricing can take a nosedive because of that.
Yeah.
But then again, one good performance and you can have 20-30% onto the card pricing. And you see that a lot of the time. Someone will come out and have a barnstorming game at the weekend. You go on eBay 2 hours later and there's 50 new cards of them listed up because people are trying to sell at a high because of how they've just performed and you're trying to use sort of the customer's emotion into buying that card. Rather than...
So you've got like, obviously when it comes to a rookie, like more or less they've played some games before. So you're going on performance of them games before. I'm guessing like there's some hype. And then like you mentioned there, that's a good point. Like obviously there might be a smaller group of people that like are on about a rookie that they think is going to be good. But because there's like not a wider audience, it's probably not going to be priced as high as other ones and stuff. But if you can target them, it might be worth a little bit more.
Yeah, so it's more commonly known as like prospecting. So it's sort of used in sports cards quite a lot, where you're prospecting the talent that in American sports cards it's used all the time. So you've got people that are sort of buying Archie Manning now, waiting for obviously to get drafted, hopefully to the Giants. But probably not. But yeah, like that. And then you had people who were sort of prospecting Cooper Flag. Obviously, his price is still relatively sort of high considering the performances. Not that they're necessarily his fault, like the Mavs are struggling with injuries and everything else that's going around it.
Yeah.
But there's still the hype that he's going to be great. Pretty similar with what happened with Victor, even though he had all of the injuries. Like when he's on the court, he's special, which sort of helps carry that sort of value and sort of the promise of greatness over everything else.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, bringing up Cooper Flag, because obviously Cooper Flag coming into like college coming into an NBA, should I say, from college, he was like obviously a big deal. Then you've got someone like VJ Edgecombe, who was obviously, I think he went 3 or 4, I can't remember what, I think he might have been number 4 pick. Obviously a talent and stuff and everything, but not on the same level. But obviously his performances came out of the gate, didn't he? Like massive, and you saw his prices shoot up. Like they've like not dropped off, they've like leveled off a little bit. But I suppose that's a good point. Like some are just going to come up, like really hyped up, so the price is going to be massive. And then obviously if you can take advantage of, like, if you've got a feeling that this guy's going to be special, you could probably buy low and then sell high, couldn't
so
you?
you get a lot of this sort of in the NFL, sort of certain players on practice squads and then players that are sort of in and around rosters, so they're in the 53, but don't quite make it. They're not starting yet at wide receiver or somewhere like that, or they're just sitting behind, like Mahomes when he initially came into the league, sat behind Alex Smith for a fair while until Alex got injured, and then obviously came in. You could get Mahomes cards that first year so cheap because there wasn't the noise. He wasn't playing. Yeah. He was just sat there, and then has come in and done what he's done. Like anyone that got cards that first 6 or 9 months are laughing.
Like obviously we kind of mentioned the hot streaks with sport athletes and things like that. Obviously that's it's good in, like, I'm guessing you, like, when as you was like sellers, and just even like individuals as sellers and stuff and everything, knowing when the right time is to sell, things like that. You know, like I don't know if it was you or Ben told me that, like, I might have got this wrong. Is it round like the Super Bowl? Is that a bad time to sell? Like,
no,
or is it before? No, that's what it was. I'll tell you, I'm right this time. If there's 2 quarterbacks, the right time is to sell before the Super Bowl, isn't it? That's it. Yeah, were you that told me that one?
Yeah, because of all the hype.
Yeah. So I would have thought you'd wait for. Well, it's like going on, like blackjack in it, like red and like black. But I would have thought you'd take your chance, and if he wins, the price would go up.
I think a lot of it depends on how much, because in terms of that sort of selling, it's more of an investment than anything else. So it depends how invested you are in the specific card and when you picked it up. If you bought it relatively cheap, say back in June, July, August, when you can pick stuff up nice, and then you've held it throughout the season, and because of the recent comps that you're 2xing, 3xing what you've put into that card, do you run the risk of them not playing well in the Super Bowl and having a Mahomes-like Super Bowl he had last year, where he got sacked like more times than he made like completed passes? Or do you sell that week before so you can guarantee 3x the week before? Or do you wait that extra week, 2 weeks? I suppose it does all come down to how invested you are in it and how much you want to come out of it, and where you can move that, what your next move is. Because a lot of the times it's all planned. Like in your head, I bought this here, I'll sell it there, I'll make double my money on that, and then I can double down again and then do the same cycle the next year. So I think it just depends where you are. In that point, it's less of the collecting aspect, more of sort of the investing, flipping side of it.
Yeah. Like say, obviously, there's right and wrong times to sell. Like, look, I'll say soccer, because obviously we've talked about a few American sports. Like when you've got like any card and stuff, is like, and you're wanting to sell, it's like, when's the good times to sell in soccer? Because I obviously, I'm like, as a soccer fan, I'm thinking like Champions Leagues and things like that, But are you waiting for like just a hot streak?
I think when a player's playing well, I think that always helps.
So obviously trophies help as well. But
trophies and
that
like sort of
as long as he's playing well, scoring goals, I guess you target people that support that club, and it's like a perfect time to like chop it down.
Yeah, like if you look at any Eze Arsenal cards after the weekend, there's going to be a slight premium on that, because you've got all of the Arsenal eyes looking on a very small pot of now Eze cards in Arsenal kits. There's only a couple of sets that have come out that have got him in them. Right. Unless the Arsenal fans are all right with him in a Palace top. But that's where it gets a bit tricky when you look at where now the movement of players, even between rival teams. So a lot of the time now you're getting Arsenal and Chelsea just passing players round like a merry-go-round. And a lot of the time, Arsenal fans won't want their player in a Chelsea kit in their collection. And similar Chelsea fans won't want them players in an Arsenal kit in their collection. So then you are waiting for that first time the player just come out in their team's colours.
So what you're saying to me now, right? Is I've got a 10 of 10 Eze at home in a Palace top. I should have sold.
You should have sold before the Arsenal cards started come out. Yeah.
I do like him, so I'm probably going to keep it anyway.
Yeah.
My first 10 out of 10 numbers, so I'm probably always going to keep it anyway, but it's just a good example in it where there's probably going to be dropped, would you say quite significantly, or just
There'll be a bit of a drop because it's low numbered to 10.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily feel it as much because it's a rarer sort of card. But if that was to 399, then yeah, the prices are sort of slashed. But yeah, it's sort of when a player transfers from one team to another, you're going to get the fans of that team that want their new player. Their only option a lot of the time at that point is in the kits from the old team.
Yeah.
Because there's not been the chance yet for Topps to release a new card with them on it.
Yeah.
For people to chase.
Obviously, we'll go back onto this. We mentioned the numbered cards out of 10. Obviously, then 1 of 1 cards, never had one, never pulled one, as you keep reminding me.
We'll catch up, Jordan, I'm sure.
I'll be here long enough now, so I should be able to pull one. But yeah, just how do you go about pricing a 1 of 1 card? I've always thought that when I've seen a few clips on YouTube and different stuff where people try and, a bit similar to what we were talking about before, where again we'll use Haaland as an example, looking for another 1 of 1 Haaland. Is that the right way to go about it, or?
Yeah, you can do sort of. It's easier with sort of sports cards and some of the sketches that are about now. There's more opinions when it comes to trying to price one of these 1 of 1 artist sketch cards that you're getting out of a lot of the top sets now, which are super cool. We'll go through the Thor one once we've gone over Haaland. Link with the hair. Do you like that? So in terms of with the 1 of 1 Haaland, that if you were pricing it, you would go for a similar set 1 of 1 if you can find a sale to that. And then it does purely come down to the negotiation from sort of me to you of a price you're happy with and a price I'm happy with. So we're probably going to be out. The likelihood is my price as the person trying to buy it is going to be lower than your price as the owner of the card. And then I suppose it just comes down to sort of negotiating to a point where you're both happy. And then if you're both happy and you both agree that that's the price of the card and that's what you both think it's worth, then you get a deal done and that's effectively the price of the card. And then if you can't, you shake hands and you've got to try to find a deal with someone else. It's always pricing and selling a 1 of 1 is quite hard, especially because as the owner of it, you are going to price it slightly higher because you own it.
Yeah.
It's just almost getting that agreed point of where you're both happy.
About the Thor one.
You want to know about Thor?
Go on then. Tell me something about the Thor.
Yeah, so we were at the card show at the weekend, and this chap was sort of trying to move on this 1 of 1 sketch. And it was a Thor card. It was sensational. So it was I've no idea how to price it. I was we've got 2 options here. We can go off similar Thor sketches, or what I think the fairest way is when it comes down to this is we go off the artist. So a lot of the time when these artists do sketches, artists have followings and sort of the artist name almost has just as much clout as the card that they've sketched.
Yeah.
So we searched the artist and we found a sale of the Spider-Man sketch that he'd drawn. That had done 360 quid or something it had. So it was then the discussion of where you rank Thor in terms of, is he on a par with Spider-Man? Is he just a little £20 bracket lower? Is he a £50 bracket lower? And sort of that's where they got to. So we went off sort of the artist name because that seemed the fairest way. If he's got other cards out there that have sold, then you sort of know what sort of following he's got as well as with the character. And then, yeah, it was working out the bracket of Thor, which is probably, if you have him on a ladder, you've got Spider-Man at the top, and then you've probably got Thor, Hulk, and a few of the others, Wolverine, and the rest of the angry bunch, scraping at his heels.
Yeah. So like I say, you mentioned like when it comes to negotiating, that's one thing I've like learned just watching videos, like when people are like negotiating, like vendors especially. Because obviously if they're wanting to sell it on, they want to try and get a good price, but it's always fair. Like I never see, I'm not saying there isn't any, I always see like fair negotiations. Obviously it looks good for you, for like them as a business and stuff as well. But I never see anything like, and if people don't get a deal done, there's no like, it's no like upset that you've offered too long and stuff. It's just like, oh, yeah, we haven't got a deal done. It's fine. You know what I mean? I know it sounds stupid, but I kind of like seeing that. It's like, it's just the environment of it all is like, it's one of them where people exchanging money, you wouldn't be surprised if people were getting upset that they weren't getting what they were offered and things like that. But when I see that, it's just like, it seems just such like a good community, like, and that's what you want to be a part of.
Yeah, I think if you're open and honest at the start of a negotiation to sort of where your percentage points are, the pricing of the cards is almost secondary, because a lot of the time if you've got comps, that's facts and figures that are there. So if a card sold for a tenner, it's sold for a tenner. It then purely comes down to percentage points, and a lot of the times are they trying to sell or do they want to trade? Trade is obviously more beneficial for both parties. You're moving cards, you're moving inventory on and getting inventory in, and you're still making a bit on it.
Yeah.
The customer's also getting more for them because they trade. A lot of the time you trade at 1% percentage point, and you buy in a lower percentage point, because obviously you need margin on that.
Yeah.
So that's a lot where it comes to. So when sort of I'm doing it at a show, like straight away I sort of ask the customer where they are, like where do they want to be? Because if you know at that point when you've started you've had to flick through it and you've sort of explained sort of the percentages you work on, and then you've asked them where they want to be, you can sort of save both parties loads of time. And it can also make that deal really easy to do. If they're wanting one figure and you've gone through it, and because we spend pretty much most days pricing cards, you've got a rough idea where about a lot of stuff is. You can make a deal sometimes without having to comp it all, because you know roughly whereabouts you are, and you can get a deal from that.
Yeah, I think a couple of things before we finish this chat, which has been good. It's been eye-opening.
It's been emotional.
Yeah, it's been emotional. Obviously, when I first started, I didn't know how to sell cards and stuff and everything. I just went to eBay because you can sell everything on eBay, can't you? Like, obviously, I've seen people sell it on Vinted now. But I remember when I used to comp a card, and I used to see it say I saw a card for $10, so obviously about £7-8. I'd put it up at £7-8, and then I had people doing offers, and it's like, that's where you meant to I learned you go above. Because then obviously they've got room to negotiate and stuff. It's pretty basic, really, isn't it? But obviously, stuff you don't know, do you? And stuff you just think, oh, if this is worth £8, I'll put it up for £8 because someone's going to buy it for £8. But when it comes to stuff like that, you want to be able to negotiate, and some people want to try and get a better price. So if you've gone above, you end up getting what price you are. Now that works in everything. Obviously, as you as vendors as well, don't it? It's
so a lot of the time people want sort of 10 to 20% off a sticker or off a listing price on eBay and all that sort of stuff. A bit of that is factored in when obviously it comes to pricing. You're going to get asked that. So a lot of the time you hear sort of, vendors have got cards priced too much at shows. They're priced a bit high because they're fully expecting that negotiation. And they're probably still going to take lower than their ideal on it, because they want to have obviously the movement of the card and a bit of liquidity to carry on. But it's also that, especially when it comes to eBay, do you go fixed price with best offers on, or do you run the risk of auctioning it from £1? That was a bit of a gambler. I love a bit of a pound start, see where it ends up. But I think a lot of that also comes down to what you're selling. If it's more niche, and yes, eBay gets the most eyes on it, it's the biggest platform for sort of selling cards. If you're selling a card that is not massively, the player's not massively popular, the value might not be massively high, it might be a £10 to £20 card, but it could still be numbered to 10.
Yeah.
But it's of a defensive lineman. that we know doesn't have a huge collectability, are you going to risk starting that from £1? The chance it's more than likely how many people are going to Google eBay search that player to find his cards in over that sort of 5 to 7 day period you're auctioning?
Yeah.
Probably slim to a couple. Whereas if you're selling a Patrick Mahomes to 50, then you know that every day there's probably 50,000 eBay searches of Patrick Mahomes rookie cards that this could pop up through. So I think a lot of that comes down to how desirable and collectible the cards and the players or Pokemon on the cards are against how niche they are, to whether you go down the buy it now with offers on, or you can go down the auction route with it.
I think you brought up another, like, maybe you refreshed my memory to think of a good point that was discussed in the shop yesterday. Obviously, as an NFL guy, I know quarterbacks are massive. Obviously, I'm going to guess in soccer, like I say, it's weird. It's a totally different world because, like, I'm like trying to dress onto something different here, but I am a massive soccer fan. I know loads about knowledge of soccer, but then you get into training cards and it's totally different. Like, I'm going to, like, obviously goal scorers are probably like high in value.
Yeah.
But then I'm going to guess it's like rookies that probably haven't even done much yet, is it?
Yeah.
Over like goalkeeper, like Thibaut Courtois is arguably like the best goalkeeper in the world. Some might argue that, maybe Alisson and stuff, but I'm going to guess that they're not very valuable.
No.
It's mental, isn't it? Because obviously they're the best in their position, but it's just no one cares about goalkeepers, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it comes down to that. How many people at a football match will have Courtois' jersey on? Yeah. Over at the same match have Mbappe's jersey on. And if you look at it like that, that's sort of where it reflects well over into cards, that it's the collectability of the player. So a lot of these young rookies, look at Estavio that's now at Chelsea. So his stuff from Palmeiras is worth a fortune. Effectively, he's done very little. He's a wonder kid. He was nutmegging people from 9 months old or whatever he was doing. And he's been on a path to greatness.
Yeah.
Now, these wonder kids out of Brazil, every year there's a new one, or there's 2 that are coming out that have got out.
Hendrick's a good example.
He's currently, he can't get on the pitch. But people are still buying him because does he move away from Madrid?
Yeah.
Does he go to a United? Does he go to a PSG? Like, realistically, Madrid, they've got 2 options. They're going to send him out on loan, or they're going to sell him with a juicy little buyback if he does turn into the player and the potential he showed when 3 years ago. But it's like that. It's at that point, it's all a bit of a gamble. So buying rookies is a gamble.
But it could be quite fruitful.
It could be a very fruitful gamble, but it's one of them, don't put all your eggs into necessarily one basket. And if you do, cross your legs and your fingers and your toes and up the turn to the next thing in your mouth.
But like I say, like, I'm not sure about, like, you might be able to, like, say otherwise in the soccer. I can't. I'm only going on what I know. But it's changing a bit in, like, NFL and, like, know a little bit about MLB, baseball. But obviously your hitters, MLB, were, like, super valuable over anything else. And then obviously quarterbacks, obviously. And they always will be a higher value. But the people are starting to see now that, like, wide receivers, like, obviously McBride, tight end and stuff, and everything's, like, picking up in value. Obviously, like, your in baseball, your, like, pitchers and stuff are picking up in value when there were, like, a massive gap between them all. Is that, like, just they're never going to be as big as the other ones and stuff, but it is good for the market, I suppose, that, like, they are getting value, aren't they, compared to, like, what we just mentioned.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, in terms of value, it comes down to, like, the rookie class that they come out of. So obviously last year's NFL rookie class, the quarterbacks, apart from Jaden Daniels, weren't really doing much. Now, I know year 2, it's developed that Drake May's really good and Bo Nix is really good and Caleb Williams is decent, better than Ben showed, and then obviously Jaden's got injured and he's gone a full sort of 180 with that draft class. So, like, last year you had Brock Bowers doing numbers, and then this year you're going to have, again, wide receivers and that sort of stuff and tight ends doing numbers, and a young lad at Judkins, isn't it? I imagine he's not gonna be cheap when the proper heavy hitting products come out, because the quarterback class isn't really doing amazing. So the money's got to be somewhere. So if a box is $1,000, if I have a really good box, where am I getting my money from? So if you look at it from that angle, that sort of brings these extra positions into it, when the wholesale of the quarterback being the big chases isn't sort of pulling that value through.
Yeah.
So like Jackson Dart's doing good money this year. Would he be doing the same if he was in last year's draft class, or would he have fallen into the same bracket of the Caleb?
Yeah.
And as a Giants fan, obviously you want Dart to be really good and do really well, and his card value to sort of show that. But off his performances sort of this year and where he's been, would you have his pricing at where it's at? You'd probably say he's sort of overinflated, but that's probably down to the fact that the rookie class of quarterbacks isn't setting the world on fire. Cam Moore's doing a good job in a horrendous team. Like a lot of these rookie QBs are in really bad teams.
Yeah.
Which obviously makes it harder when you in the NFL, when you're number 1, number 2, number 3 draft pick. You are going to the really bad teams unless they've done some great draft work.
Yeah.
Where I know that's different in sort of basketball, where with how it works over there, you can end up doing really well and getting the number 1 draft pick and walking into a ready-made good team. Like, look at Dylan Harper walking into that Spurs team. Yeah. Like, they look set, which is why his pricing is pretty stable. But yeah, I think you are seeing a lot more respect monetary-wise put onto the players who are in these flair positions. You'd almost call them, wouldn't you, a wide receiver, at tight end. Less so in running backs, but I think in terms of running backs, that's because they've got a short life cycle, because they're smashing their into the floor.
Not many Derrick Henrys, is there?
No.
Not many at all. Obviously, we mentioned, like, we'll finish off on this. This opened a small debate in the shop yesterday, didn't it? Where obviously we were talking about US sports, and I obviously mentioned that. I say, is there a premium in the UK when it comes to US sports, like over there? Because obviously, more products going to be in the US in it from the US thing. Obviously, we get some over here, but not as much as soccer. So obviously, soccer's like the number one, isn't it? Like obviously Pokemon, but obviously, you thought I were onto something.
I think you're right.
I'm saying it like I knew and stuff. I just looked at like sales and I thought that must be what it is, because like it's way more than, it's not even the percentage of like, there's a percentage for negotiation. There were a lot of people that were just pricing them way higher. Obviously, I'm on about big cards as well. You're not like your base cards and stuff, you like inserts, but like your big cards, that have made their way over here. Obviously, Ben wasn't too sure, but you.
I were on your side, George. I were on your side of the fence. There were no.
Yeah, you weren't on the fence.
No, I wasn't on the fence, mate. No, we're definitely on your side. No, I think, and you see it, like I do a lot in sort of NFL groups in the UK, and see a lot of cards that fly through that. I like at card shows. There's definitely sort of a premium put on sort of NFL, or from what I've seen, because not everyone's got access to buying from the States. So there's loads that do have sort of US lockers and that side of it. So their access to sort of a huge ocean of NFL cards is dead easy. Whereas in the UK, it can be harder. And I've been guilty of it myself, paying a premium on a card because I wanted that card there and then.
Yeah.
Rather than, I could get it for a tenner cheaper, but it's got to go up my storage locker in America, and when am I next getting my shipment over, and all that side of it? Or do I pay Tony McTony 25 quid for the card I want now and get it to my door in 2 days? And you can definitely see that, and it happens, I reckon, once a week, twice a week. People will get called out for the pricing, and the response is, we'll go buy it in America then. So your options are there. You can either sort of buy and negotiate the prices that people are putting, and yes, they may be slightly inflated by 15, 20%, but it also then comes down to convenience. Like, are you willing to pay for convenience, or do you want to put that time in to have that US locker, to buy your cards in the States, to go there and then get over to you. It's completely up to you.
Who's Tony McTone?
Oh, Tony Bertoni is the top guy.
I have to get on to him.
Aye.
But no, Chris, appreciate that, mate. I feel like we've covered a lot there. Like we said, we've got future stuff. Like if we miss some stuff, we'll talk about in the future. But nice little
Well, fun.
thingy on you. So thank you for joining us on episode 2, and I'm sure we'll see you in the future as well.
Oh no, this is me done now, mate. I'm out the door. I'm never back.
We'll get Ben on next week.
Yeah, until next week.
Cheers, mate. Right, thank you, guys. We'll see you again soon.